Welcome to Lens of Lightning. I wanted us to have like a little voiceover when we made that
That
video.
intro was epic, man. I've never seen such a
Right.
great intro in all my life. I love that.
Yeah, we have I was saying yesterday that we're trying to up the level of production. So we're like, okay, let's do the video.
It's very nice. I like it a lot.
Yeah, that was done by Pavle, really talented motion graphic and stuff guy that we got on the team now.
I'll have to hit him up for some of our video tutorials because they could do with a bit of blinging up and a bit of fancy.
Well, welcome.
Intro.
We made it.
Yes, hello. Thanks for having me. Yeah. Some
we made it.
hiccups.
Apologies, everyone, if you're listening live. If you're listening to the playback, it's no problem. Yeah, Ben, you are quite the prolific maker, aren't you? Right?
Yeah, I mean, that's all right. I'm good at sort of having okay ideas and then starting projects off, but actually they're all free and open source ideas, and it's the strength of the community coming in and piling in and fixing my code and extending functionality, which makes any of the projects I've worked on like usable and good. I'm not the world's best developer, but I can kind of, I like trying to make a new thing, and then when that presents problems, you try and fix those problems, and by fixing those problems, somebody else has probably also had those problems, and then if you do it in a free and open source way, before you know it, you find a community of people building up around your project to help solve some of those problems, because it's useful for them as well. And that's pretty much where LNbits and all the hardware projects came from, really.
Well, there's many open source projects out there that don't actually build up that community, right? Having the code online and on GitHub, doesn't on a public repo doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to come to it. And even though you do something really useful and awesome, right? So I think you've done a fantastic job in building that community for the free and open source stuff that you guys do at LNbits. Like, where did that come from?
Well, I think that I really like hack days and hack events such as Bolt Fun, and all the stuff I worked on came from the Lightning Hack Days, which were organized by Fulmo in Berlin. And it was that embracing community of people who, so even if you don't really know what you're doing, if you're making the effort and you're trying to build something and they can see a little bit of value in the thing you're trying to build, then I find that the developer community is incredibly encouraging and welcoming and supportive. And that's what I found in those hack days. So really, if it wasn't for that environment of people like Christian Russell and everyone involved in those, and Jeff as well, everyone involved in those hack days, if it wasn't for them being supportive and then also helping me develop those projects as well, because I think having experienced that, even though I really didn't know what I was doing, so I retired from teaching, but I took some time out from teaching, and then I went to.
What were you teaching?
I was teaching woodwork primarily, but I also taught some other subjects. So I taught really naughty kids, so kids who were youth offending kids, which is very rewarding work. But I was glad after doing it for a decade to take some time out and then explore building some other stuff. Anyway, I like Bitcoin, so I went to a Bitcoin hack day in Berlin, and I saw someone made a candy dispenser, and had a full node in it. And at that point, everyone was still thinking that all these devices would have Lightning full nodes in. And I was like, well, that's not very practical. Really, that should be secondary device, and then you have your main device, your node, somewhere secure with your money on. So if you had an arcade hall, you would have the arcades would have just little microcontrollers talking to your node, rather than the node itself being inside the candy machine. So I then got to work, because I fiddled a little bit with microcontrollers. Like some of my kids, when I was working teaching the naughty kids, I tended to attract the dorky naughty kids, because we had similar sort of minds, we're dorking out over computers and stuff and technology. And with a couple of them, I'd done some rudimentary electronics, and then also the subject in the UK, design and technology, which is what woodwork falls under. I'd also covered for a couple of electronics lessons for some friends, because that's the same kind of umbrella topic. So I'd done a little bit with micro, and I kind of knew what they were capable of. So I started trying to build like a candy machine, which didn't have a node in it, just had a little e-paper screen, and then, you know, like a little microcontroller which could talk to the node. And it was like a real uphill struggle. It took me 6 months just to get the QR code on the QR code on the e-paper screen. But I knew that from there it would get easier. So I was just kind of learning on the job. So that was like what, 4.5, 5 years ago, I think. And then by building the hardware stuff, like if I made the candy machine, I would need to make, you know, 5 different versions. I need to make a Core Lightning version, an LND version, an Eclair version, an OpenNode version. And at that time, I was using Async. Actually had a great project called Strike. I'm not sure if they had strike.com. Anyway, they had a very good project called Strike, which was a simple API where you could plug in and send Lightning to it and get on chain out. It was brilliant, but too early, no one really cared about it. Anyway, so I would make different versions for all these different platforms. And then I'm like, well, this is stupid. I keep replicating work. Like, I need a common API which I can just connect to and make my devices talk to, and then that can sit on top of any funding source. So that was like starting to brew as an idea. And then also like with the LNURL stuff. So like by then, you know, I'm hanging out on the Telegram groups, and I'm in the Lightning Institute, Theoretical Institute, like Telegram group. And which was kind of like one of the first Lightning maker think tank type ideas, where everyone's just throwing around ideas, people like Viet, Jeff Hampers, those sorts of folks. And we're just playing around with this great new tool, like what can we build with it? And the LNURL spec had been fleshed out by then. So, you know, I made like the first kind of withdraw faucet thing. So you could like pay some sats and then you create a withdraw, and then people could scan it and then withdraw every, you know, 10 minutes or something. And everyone kept telling me to free and open source the code, but the code was terrible. I was replicating work, like the connecting to the funding source bit and checking if an invoice is being paid. Like, I was like, that should already exist, and that little slither of functionality I'm just generating a faucet should be like a module or an extension which sits on top. I always like the WordPress model as well, like where you have something very simple, and then I think it's powerful. You just have something simple, and then you just extend in whichever direction is relevant to you. And I wanted that for this thing. So then LNbits started to brew then as an idea. And also I was using OpenNode quite a lot, and I was thinking, well, you know, naturally everyone's going to gravitate towards this easy platform where you can just, you know, connect and develop for, and everyone's just going to use that. So it would be nice if you kind of like had an open source version of OpenNode where you could just run it yourself. You could be a custodian for friends, family, or the whole world if you wanted. So the idea was to try and tackle the custodial issue by making being a custodian as easy as possible. So that was another kind of thread. Anyway, so it all kind of came together. And then also the other one was at the Lightning Hack Days and conferences, we wanted like a simple web wallet. So somebody could scan a QR code and then get a web wallet and then use it in the web browser. There was one made already, but it was kind of a really hacky project. It was, you know, just about worked for, it was one of the Congress events in Germany. But anyway, we needed like a slicker version of that as well. So it's like make a Lightning web wallet, which has a common API. And also like I was making an ATM, and now I'm like, I don't want to, because at that point, nodes didn't have accounts or anything. I don't know if they do now, but I don't think they do. It's no longer a problem for me. But so if in order for my ATM to pay out to somebody, it would need to have my admin keys for my node. And then if somebody breaks into the ATM, then they can steal my admin keys. So that kind of sucked. I'm like, I wanted funds to be limited, and then also organize what all these devices and projects are connected to. So that's kind of where LNbits came from.
And it's like natural progressions here, as like, you know, as the need comes to be. You know,
I think it's just recognizing like hurdles and stumbling blocks, and then appreciating if you build something to fix that stumbling block, then other people are inevitably going to find it useful because they're going to be in the exact same position as you.
Yeah, but you're also thinking about it in the way that like, you know, like you did say, like, you know, fix your issue, but also you do have the perspective of like trying to make it suitable for other people to build off of and be a framework for other people as well. And, you know, sometimes if you are building something too much for yourself. You're not thinking about like the development in that scalable kind of way so much. I mean, there's so many other ways that this could have been done without the UI, without the API structure and extensions. It could have just been like a bunch of scripts, right? So I think it's interesting how the project progressed from like so early,
I mean,
solving
I guess
initial
it's
problem.
yeah. I mean, I guess it's probably because I wasn't a developer, and I'm like, I'm an idiot on a computer, and I want it to be kind of idiot proof. And I tried to keep that as well, because it's really easy when you become more technical to then have all these assumptions that people know how to access these scripts, people know how to do this, people know how to do
Exactly.
that. And in reality, they just want like a UI, and they want like something pretty they can connect to, and that's fine. Like it's okay. Like this is why people weren't developing websites, in rural code, and they started using content management systems like WordPress. Like it's okay to have that. So yeah, I made like a really hacky prototype, which kind of worked. And then Fiatjaf and Eneco, they were the first two developers to come on and help me tidy it up. And then Eneco worked really well. He brought in the Quasar. Quasar is our framework, which has served us so well, honestly. So Quasar is a Vue.js framework, which you can use to develop. It's responsive, like framework you can use to develop software for. And there's some great resources out there, but it just kind of like, it's a limited graphical framework, which means that it kind of pulls all of our design together and gives it like a common style, a common, architecture. So that's what we have on the front end. And on the back end, it was actually Christian Musa was staying with us. And I was saying about this idea, and I was like, I might write it in PHP, because I was like, WordPress and PHP. And then Rutzer was like, you're not putting PHP on the Raspberry Pi, on the Raspberry Blitz. If you ever want this on the Raspberry Blitz, it can't be in PHP. So I was like, all right, what do you recommend? He said, well, just use Python, because that's what we use on the Raspberry Blitz. I was like, okay, I use Python. So then I went and looked for a back-end framework, and we started with Flask, which is great for making software backends, but the problem was it wasn't asynchronous. So we used a fork of Flask called Quart for a while, which had asynchronous capabilities. But there was kind of like, at that point, there was Quart and there was Fast API. And then within about a year, it was clear that Fast API was the clear front runner and was doing getting much more traction in its development. So we then switched to Fast API. I think this is another very good point, is like not being afraid to refactor, and also like getting rid of tech debt, which you build up this tech debt and then you become attached to it. And like, you can work on something for 2 months, and then at the end of those 2 months, after a week, you're like, well, there's a better way of doing it, and I'm going to have to delete 2 months worth of work. And actually, it's just worth biting the bullet, because if you just continue for 5 years, then that 2 months of tech debt is going to just bite you in the ass further on down the road. So we were quite good at that in LNbits. Like it was Fusion 44, the developer Fusion 44, who really worked on the conversion from Quart to Fast API. So big props to him. Anyway, so it's a it was a long road and lots of input from lots of developers. And I think the basic choices were correct. So we made a Go version for a while of LNbits, but
yeah, I remember that. That was supposed to be like the next version, right?
Yeah, potentially. It's very clever, but it's just that you have access to such a smaller pool of developers. And I think that the reason WordPress was successful is because a lot of people can do PHP.
Exactly.
And they're not scared of it, and it's the same with Python. Like, a lot of people can do Python, they're not scared of it. And the amount of times I hear, because of the hardware stuff, that's in kind of C or like an Arduino type C thing, which I started with, and I'm not intimidated by it at all. But the amount of like Python developers would be like, oh, I can't do that. It's in C. I need to do MicroPython or something.
It's accessibility then, right? It's about accessibility. It's about accessibility.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people are happy to try and turn their hands to Python. So, and actually, as a language, it's really come along, and Fast API is a phenomenal backend.
So what I like about what you're telling us here is actually that the fact that you weren't originally a developer made you not like be married to a particular way to fix things. And so the other part is you were humble enough to go and ask for help to the people that you admired and have them input and tell you where to go. I think a lot of times when we're young and we're like honest and careful, and you share, hey, these are my limitations, this is what I need. You did that, and that's what made this project go way further, because you open sourced it, because you were humble, because you asked for help in the places that you knew you didn't know things. And that's a really important angle of a lot of projects, that it's actually valuable to not be a coder, not be a developer to begin with, because it opens up the capabilities and possibilities. It's
also like, as you become more skilled, then you become like something of a technocrat, and then you're less I think you're less, when other people say we should try doing it like this, you're more defensive, and you're like, well, no, because I do the correct way, because I know what I'm doing. Whereas like when you know what you're doing, you're like, okay, cool, that sounds great, let's go with the way you said. So I think it's important to kind of stay kind of humble, open to other people's suggestions. And also I think it's very important as well, like LNbits was, because I'd had that experience with the Sinclair faucet, the Ellen faucet thing, where I kept thinking, oh, free and open source, and then I was like, I need to clean the code up, and I did that for months. And then with the LNbits thing, I was like, from the very beginning, even when it was just a piece of shit code, right, get it out there, it's MVP, and I don't think anyone cares. Like, it's not an embarrassing thing to show your shitty code. Like, it makes people feel more comfortable. They're like, oh, okay, this there's probably somewhere in which I can contribute here. And I will say as well that, like, quite often, people will frame Bitcoin developers being quite cantankerous and not very helpful or friendly. But I think it's completely opposite. I think if you make the effort, and if you try and tackle a problem, and even if you don't know what you're doing, I think it's such an incredibly nurturing community of developers who just get excited and they just want to help. So big props to just the Bitcoin Lightning developer community in general, and that goes for all the way up to core developers. If you show effort, then it's fine to to show whatever you've made, and not be too worried about that they'll think bad of you because the code's crappy. It's that there's like WordPress was always a great application and then shitty software, right? So with LNbits, we kind of had an application led project. So early on, we had it looked good and it worked cool, but then it would break because the software was kind of shitty, like it was all kind of hacked together and everything. But it was our hobby project, so we didn't really care too much. And then I think it was when the El Salvador stuff kicked off and Ibex implemented LNbits in their back end for all their Lightning stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. And we were like, don't use it. It's terrible. It's, you're just going to have all your money stolen.
Oh, man. Come on. You can't do that.
No, but it was awful. So we were like, please don't use it. But then they tried to use it for like 6 months. They did a bunch of stuff to it. They put in some commits as well. They were great, but eventually they had to build their own thing. So then we were like, well, okay, clearly the world needs this system to be functional, and actually people need to be able to use it. So how do we get ready for the next Ibex? And then that's when more energy kind of poured into the project to get it stable, to bring it out beta.
But Ben, hold on. Like, I want to highlight part of this there, because you're doing demos and showing what LNbits is and stuff. So any of the makers who are trying to consider like building whatever kind of product or app or project or whatever, seeing how they'll be able to integrate LNbits or use LNbits if they need Lightning functionality. What I want to highlight here is LNbits is why was it chosen by Ibex, right? Because it's something that allows you to quickly, rapidly prototype a bunch of use cases because of these extensions that all have APIs. So I think this is like really powerful for folks too, and we shouldn't like undermine that too much. It's very powerful for folks in our hackathons. Many people use it in our hackathons, and it just like it gets you that first version very, very quickly, because you don't have to implement Lightning address, you don't have to implement LNURF draw or Nostr features. It even has on-chain capabilities, swapping capabilities. So, and it's all like underlying, an accounting system for Lightning. So you could do a bunch of Lightning functionalities, and you have access to those via HTTP APIs. So yeah, how about we show that off now? Then
actually show off LNbits. Yeah, I mean, this is another good point.
Yeah.
It's the hardening as well. So if you build like something for Lightning, when I first made LNbits, I had Igor from Blue Wallet. He reached out and he's like, okay, here's 10 vulnerabilities you have. And I was like, okay. But then here's how you patch them. I was like, okay. So it's kind of scary. Like, but then we've had our demo server running in the wild, which we'll go take a look at now. We've had our demo server running in the wild for like 3 years, and it's the same accounts on there, same everything. And it's been attacked a lot, and then early on we lost a little bit of money, but by having that there, like it's hardened. Like there's money on the server, and they could get access to it, so it gets hardened by it constantly being under attack. So you then get to benefit from that hardening and all those extra bits of security and stuff we add in. Yes, you're right. Let me show you LNbits. Am I sharing the screen?
You are sharing the screen, so
cool.
Whenever you start, I'll get you up there. Myself and Marino will be in the background, and the stage will be yours.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Let us go. There's the screen, and let's get to it.
Okay, so you can see my screen?
Yep.
Good stuff. So yeah, LNbits, as I said, lives on LNbits on GitHub. And we've got a great development community. Got like 80 contributors now, which is pretty cool. I think we surpassed like 6,000 commits or something, or we're almost at 6,000 commits as well. So it's been going for a while. And then there's information in the repo about how to install it and so on, which we're going to take a little look at in a moment. Once you have installed LNbits, then when you run it, like, where are we? I'm going to go to our demo server. When you run it, this is what you'll see, and you can just instantly, create a wallet in your LNbits install. And when you first run it, like the whole world could use you as a custodian if they want to, but then you can limit that access if you just want to use it for yourself or your friends or family. So we've got some dark night mode, and then we've got some theming here, which is quite nice. Yeah, you can do some funky stuff, like you can export the wallet to your phone if you want to. It runs just as a wallet in the browser, but then if you run it in mobile, you can install it as a where's it gone? You can install it as a progressive web app, and then it will be all responsive and mobile looking, which is kind of cool. And as I said, every wallet has its own API credentials. So, we make it trivial for a user just to create as many wallets as they want. So they could have a wallet for their cafe, they could have a wallet for their bar, whatever. And then you can split those funds up. And this has its own API keys. When it comes to the actual API itself, one of the cool features of Fast API is it generates these really nice Swagger docs. So if we go here, we can see that we've got all these endpoints we can make use of. And this is including all the extensions which have been installed as well into the LNbits install which you're using. So yeah, there's quite a lot there which you can build from. Extensions. So if we go over to extensions, this is our demo server, and we have like all the extensions installed on it, basically. But when you first install LNbits, which I should probably show you, I will show you. I'm going to go to one of the easiest ways to spin up LNbits in kind of an admin environment is to use our SaaS. So I'm just going to make a QWERTY at ben.com. I'm just going to spin up LNbits on our SaaS. Oh no, sign up. Rats. Because then I can show you the back end, the administrative back end. Because if I'm using this, I'm using somebody else's. I'm using the demo server. I'm using somebody else's LNbits install. So QWERTY at ben.com and password QWERTY UI, and then sign up. We don't actually do anything with the email. It's just for a login system. Right, so now we've got that. I'm going to create a new instance. This is going to spin up on our Kubernetes cluster an LNbits install, so we can play around with the admin backend. It will take a couple of minutes to provision. So while I'm running through the demo server, I can have like, you know, a unique instance spinning up. So this is kind of like, for us, this is, you know, we're WordPress.com, and we make it easy for you to spin up LNbits if you want to. But then obviously, you know, preferably you just run it yourself on your own node. Right, so you have all these access to all these different extensions, and they do a whole range of different things. The great thing about LNbits is because extensions are relatively easy to build, we're always on the forefront of any new technology in, you know, in Bitcoin or Lightning. So we had all, you know, for a couple of years, I think we were the only ways to make a non-custodial LNURL withdraw or LNURL pay. But you can like connect these extensions together as well, and use them in cooperation with each other. So a very popular extension is the TPOS extension. And so say if I've got my cafe, I'm going to connect to this wallet, which is where the funds are going to go when I accept payments in my cafe. And I'm in the UK, so I'm going to go for GBP. And then this wallet is for somebody who, that's where I'm going to put my tips. Okay, and then create TPOS. And this will just make a very simple software point of sale, which you can use. And the cool thing about this is I can actually, I can export this to my phone via the QR code, and it's completely air gapped. So if you have like someone working in your cafe and you want to accept Bitcoin payments, you can just print that out, put it in the till, and say if anyone comes in and wants to pay in Bitcoin, then you know I can do the tip. Okay, 10% tip. Then just scan that QR code. You'll get this point of sale on your phone, and then you can receive payments. We've also got the NFC thing as well, so we can do the Bolt card, tap and pay. A lot of all that stuff was kind of first developed and fleshed out in LNbits because it's easy to build on top of. So that's cool. But in Europe and in US and in most of the world where we have functional, and we haven't got like circular Bitcoin economies yet, the average business owner who's accepting Bitcoin payments, they actually want to accumulate Bitcoin. They don't want this wallet just to fill up full of sats, or their node to fill up full of sats. I mean, they especially don't want this to fill up full of sats if they're using somebody else's LNbits and they're not got a non-custodial LNbits running. Sorry, a custodial. They're accessing a custodial version of LNbits. So what we can use is a great extension called Bolts, and this is for looping in and out of Lightning to on-chain. So if I open this, then I can just say to Bolts, okay, keep an eye on this wallet, and then when it gets to, you know, I don't know, 500,000 sats, then send it to this on-chain address. And then even though, you know, you're not running it, it's just in the background, every time you get a payment, Bolts will go, okay, has it reached 500,000 sats? And if when the wallet does reach 500,000 sats, it just loops out then to that on-chain address. So for your average cafe bar owner, this is a great way for them to stack sats. It also means that they can use somebody else's LNbits install, and their risk profile is whatever that 500,000 sats is. If that's still a little bit too risky for them, and actually they do want to accumulate sats on their wallet Satoshi or whatever, we've got another extension called Scrub. And with Scrub, you can feed it an LNURL pay or an LN address. And then, you know, you'll just send every time, it keeps an eye on this wallet, and every time funds hit, it'll just then push those funds to the LNURL pay or the LN address. So it's another way, and the reason it's called Scrub, like early on in those maker communities, we talked about semi-custodial something Bitcoin, which is I suppose it's what people like the Lightning as a service type services, which people are talking about now, where the acknowledgement that running this stuff is quite hard still. One day it won't be. And other people are going to access these custodial solutions, and actually, like, what's the easiest way we can just push the funds somewhere else, so the custodian hasn't got control of the funds, and then the risk isn't, there's less risk involved. So it's the marrying of extensions and using extensions in collaboration with each other can be very powerful. What other extensions could we have a look at here? So maybe your cafe owner, you know, that they get to a certain point, they're a proper Bitcoiner, they've got their point of sale, it's looping out to their on-chain device. Maybe they actually want like a physical point of sale. Well, if they want a physical point of sale, we also have a bunch of hardware projects as I said in the intro, LNbits was a lot of the development of LNbits was done for building hardware devices. So we have a bunch of like DIY hardware devices, and one of them is a $15 offline point of sale, which you can build yourself. We've created a web installer to make it really easy to install. But yeah, basically it kind of looks like this. You build it yourself. I've got one right here, in fact. You build it like and then you just plug it into this site. You've got to be on Chrome or Brave. And then when you connect to it, you can push the binary from the site and then flash the software on here. And then you can connect it to your LNbits via this great extension called LNURL device. So, you know, I could create a POS and then again connect it to this wallet. And then I'm going to denominate in GBP. And I'm going to even rip my clients off a little bit and charge an extra couple of % there. And now I can just take this string, copy it across onto this device. And now when I receive payments on this device, they'll end up in this wallet over here. Now, the cool thing about this is actually offline. It's an offline Lightning point of sale. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen this, but if you haven't, the way it works is it has a secret, which you can see here in this string, which we're copying across. Here's the secret. The device has a secret. The server has a secret. So when you create the payment link, the LNURL pay, it encrypts a 4-digit PIN, a random 4-digit PIN, puts it in the LNURL pay. Then when the person pays, that's passing it to the LNbits server. By passing it to the LNbits server can then unencrypt it using the secret and send that PIN back as a receipt to the customer. Then the merchant can just press a button and then he can verify the PIN. So the merchant has a copy of the PIN, the customer has a copy of the PIN because they paid, and they can verify payment. So that's a fun little thing. All our stuff as well works on the TPOS extension. That all works on those little Android browsers, Android points of sale, which you can buy from AliExpress or what have you. We have got some in our shop on LNbits.com, but you get them a lot cheaper if you go straight to the source and go straight to Alibaba. But if we go to point of sale here, you'll get to see what I mean. Here we go. Here's the Android point of sale. Actually, this was very cool. I went to a bar in Berlin called Seabase, and this is like a hacker bar. And the anarchist hackers of Berlin generally don't really like Bitcoin because of what they see as a bad carbon footprint and the climate stuff. Well, they were using an Android point of sale and they're using TPOS, and someone was paying for their drinks using a Bolt card ring on their finger. So slowly we're penetrating those anarchist hackers and we're proving Bitcoin's worthiness via its technology, which is originally actually why those sorts of people were drawn to Bitcoin. When it comes to recent innovations, there's one called Nostar Relay. As you can see, this is for admin only, so this isn't going to work. This is a one-click. You can just spin up a Nostar Relay. Now, we're not admin on this LNbits because this is somebody else's LNbits. This is the demo server. By the way, please don't use it in production. It is a demo server. But we did spin up on our cluster. Where has it gone? We did spin up an LNbits. So now we can access this LNbits via the admin URL. When we access this LNbits via the admin URL, it'll look slightly different to what we've got here. Cyber, that's nice. It'll look slightly different to the one to this. Where are we? I'm going to close some windows. To the demo server here. For one, like we can add funds to the wallet because this is our install. So, you know, whatever, we can just add funds to the wallet, even though it's not connected to a funding source. We also get this other little button called Manage Server. So I can go to Manage Server here now, and then I can connect to different funding sources. Oh, let's see about that. I think I need to do a hard refresh on that. Yeah, I can connect to different funding sources. Currently it's using something called Fake Wallet, but I could connect to, has the UI changed? Oh, look, the UI's changed. I didn't even know about it. Someone's got a PR in, which has been merged, because this used to be like one big collection of boxes, which you'd have to fill out, and they've neatened it up to make it so when you select a funding source that you only have to fill out that funding source. Say if I was going to, in fact, so you can use, you know, LND, Eclair, C Lightning, OpenNode, whatever. You can even like use an LNbits wallet to fund an LNbits install, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to use this wallet here to fund the LNbits install. So I'm just going to take my admin key And then on the SAS here, I'm just going to add that there. Okay. And then I'm going to save that. I'm going to restart the server so this will restart it now with the LNbits wallet running. In a moment, it should restart. Give it a second. And then we should be able to test to see, here we go. We should be able to test to see whether we can create an invoice. So if I click here, and then, does that create an invoice? Yes, it does. Oh, we got another PR which has been merged, which is our little graphic in our QR code there. That's pretty cool. Well, this is the rate of development of LNbits. There's a bunch of stuff happens I didn't even know about. So we're actually using in LNbits to fund a fresh LNbits install. And then if I pay that invoice, unless one of the audience members wants to pay that invoice for me. Here we go. I'm paying now. There we go. So I get my 10 sats. And then, because this is the funding source, obviously the 10 sats will appear in the wallet which I'm using to fund. Next, we're going to go to what we're going to do. Oh, yes, have a little look more at the administrative menus you can use. So there's a bunch of stuff here. So we can set like a bunch of things we can change here. If we go to users, we can have admin users and allowed users. All this can be done programmatically through the API as well. So we can just limit allowed users. Say if you had a service, when someone signs up to your service through the API, you could just add them to the allowed users, and they're the only ones who are going to be able to access this LNbits then, or any of the API calls of LNbits. If we go to server, we can charge a service fee, so charge a percentage per transaction. We can limit extensions. We can install like non-officially vetted extensions if we want to. If we go to security, the security suite we have now is pretty cool. So if we click on server log here, we can actually have a server log. Because with our SaaS, this is the cool thing about us building a SaaS actually, was with our SaaS, the user hasn't got access to terminal, so they can't check the server logs in terminal. So we had to then build, these tools into the LNbits backend. We can also do an IP blocker. So if you look here and someone's spamming you, you can put their IP in there and block them. We have a rate limiter. So if someone does more than 200 requests per minute, then they'll get blocked for a period of time. You can obviously change that and adjust that as well. We have a kill switch, which is really cool. So is this one thing? Oh yeah, the kill switch. So we have on the LNbits repo, if we found some cataclysmic bug, you could enable kill switch, and then when we trigger the kill switch, so basically when we go to our repo and say kill switch true, then the LNbits install will see that and it will just shut down the funding source, so your funds can't be exposed. Thankfully, we haven't had to ever use that, but it's just there just in case for peace of mind. Obviously, if you don't want your LNbits polling the repo, then you don't have to enable that. And then theme as well. We want a lot of free and open source projects. There's always that annoying little watermark which you can't get rid of. We don't want that. We want people to just customize their LNbits install as much as possible, and then claim they did all the work and they built it themselves. That's absolutely fine. But please, at some point, contribute back. So you can change the name of the LNbits, and then you can change the description and also the different themes which it has access to. And there's even an advertising area which you can enable, which I haven't done for a while. So I'll be excited to see whether it's still working, because none of us actually use this advertising. Oh, here we go. There we are. There's an advert there now. So yeah, so you can really extend out your LNbits install. But as I said, it's really powerful as part of your stack. So this is the UI for accessing LNbits, but of course, you can access through that Swagger API. If you do a very useful extension, which I'm actually going to have to install. So you'll see now that LNbits Core, what I've got, which I've spun up, has no extensions installed. This is just the core software. This means that we can get LNbits Core audited, and we can come out of beta. We're pretty close to coming out of beta. And then we just vet the extensions to make sure they're not doing anything funky. But Core itself can be audited, and that can be part of the process of us coming out of beta. If I click on all here, there's an extension called User Manager. This is really useful for builders and people who are developing on LNbits. So I click install here and then enable. With this extension enabled, you can create users and then create wallets and attach them to those users. So the Telegram bot LNtip wallet, or LNtips, that's using LNbits in the back end, and it's using this extension. The software platform, the other projects like Vida and Ordinals Market, they also use this extension for managing their users and the users' wallets as well. Now, when I go to this URL and go to docs, I should see in here, I'm not sure whether I have to do a restart or not, but let's have a little look. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I should see now that because I installed User Manager, then that API is available to me. And like I could go to wherever create user is. Here's create user, and then give it authenticate, so give it some wallet keys. Whoever owns for this user, and then I could create some users and create some wallets there, just to try out, just to test out the API calls and generate some code which I can pull into my my project. So yeah, like that's one of the easier ways to spin up an LNbits. Also, obviously, you can install LNbits by source, and we're making that easier and easier as time wears on. We've just recently got our Nix install working, which is very powerful. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about that in a moment. But the basic installation, which most of us do, is installing LNbits via command line and Poetry. It's what, like 10 bits of code here. You've got to copy across into terminal, and then you can spin up and you can run your LNbits. So if I go to terminal now, I've already got it installed, so I'm not going to install it. What I would like to show you actually is how we work on extensions now in LNbits, because early on, if someone were to create a new extension for LNbits, where is it? If someone were to create a new extension for LNbits, all the extensions were just packaged in. We actually had to work quite hard to pull all the extensions out and then create this, create the architecture where you're actually pulling the extension and then installing it into LNbits core. But that makes working on the extensions, if you want to develop an extension, a little bit trickier. So say if I'm working on an extension now in my LNbits, let's spin up my local LNbits and I'll connect to that. All right, cool. Here we go. I don't know what I need to be the super user. Oh, so I'm just gonna find out what the super user ID is. This is quite an old laptop, so it's running quite slow. So now if I open up LNbits again, and then if I go here, this is the local LNbits just running on my computer. If I replace the user here, I should get a super user. There we are, there's super user, nice. And as you can see, super user is very rich. As I said, like when you're super user, like LNbits is a piece of software which sits between your node and whatever you're running on top of it, or whatever project you're running on top of it. So you can, be a fractional reserve bank if you want to. You can not have, the funds on your node that are represented in the LNbits install, but that's not, advised. We actually have in managed server, when you go to security, we have got a feature called Watchdog, which is specifically for this. So it'll keep an eye on the funds in your node and or the funding source, and it'll keep an eye on the amount of funds in your LNbits install. And if the ratio ever becomes too distant from each other, then it will just shut down your LNbits and not allow. It will assume that somebody's hacking your node or hacking your LNbits or whatever, and then we'll shut down your LNbits. We're still working on that thing. Again, we've never had to use it, but it's nice to have it there as an extra kind of security measure. The thing I wanted to show you, for anyone who knows what Nix is out there, is we can install. Is this it? Yeah, we can install LNbits through Poetry, which is a Python package manager. But we can also now install LNbits through Nix. So Matt from Nix.how and Pavel Stick from Satoshi Labs, and a couple of the other Nix Bitcoin people, they've helped us Nixify LNbits, which, so if you, in order for your project to be able to run via Nix, it needs to be a reproducible build. So what does that mean? It means that like any piece of software that you run, it has a bunch of dependencies, right? So we have a bunch of dependencies which we're pulling in, and most package managers, if we go to like Poetry Lock here, I think it's Poetry Lock, then we'll be able to see the different dependencies. Yeah, most package managers, you'll say, okay, so I need the Bech32 library, and this version or any version above it is fine. Well, in a reproducible build, that's not fine. You need to declare exactly what version of that library you're using, and then that library also needs to be able to declare exactly what versions of the libraries they're using. So the idea is that it will always run the same on every single computer, right? So if I have that old adage of, oh, it works fine on my computer, which we often say in the LNbits chat is, oh, it works on my computer, that no longer becomes an issue because you're running on Nix. It will run exactly the same on a Raspberry Pi as it would run on an Amazon Web Server or your laptop or whatever. Anyway, so that's very cool, reproducible to collaborative builds. Anyone interested in that, you can go to the NixOS webpage. It's a whole operating system and package manager, which you can build very stable systems on top of. There's the project which we're soon to be on, or probably already are on, is Nix Bitcoin. So this Nix Bitcoin just collects all the different packages which can be installed through Nix, right? I mean, I'm building to something with this explanation here. This is a project which has been running for 4 years. It's I think it's led by Jonas Nick. Yeah, there's a couple of, okay, yeah, Jonas Nick, and so like a couple of core developers in Bitcoin, people you can really, trust they know what they're doing. And if you're going to have like a money node, I think it makes sense that it's a Nix node and is reproducible and isn't going to run differently on different hardware. So what do we have? On my local, I'm telling you this because I kind of like, I'm running LNbits now locally, and the branch in which I'm running on is our Nix operating system branch. What that means is, like, through LNbits, if you're running LNbits on Nix, rather than have to fill out a Nix config file, you'll be able to go in here and like just activate something like BTC Pay Server. So you'll click on add, it generates this form, you fill out the form, you update it, and then we'll have another menu item here called apps, and then BTC Pay Server will be available. You can click on it, and then you can go use BTC Pay Server. For us, we don't really have to do anything because the Nix Flake is maintained by Nix Bitcoin and BTC Pay Server. All this is literally a UI for you adding BTC Pay Server to your system. So for a node management system, this is very powerful, very interesting, and it's a recent development over the past couple of weeks. But again, it means that you can have this common interface for managing your node. So it can be like an umbrella, except you're not dealing with all these Docker files and everything. It's just using Nix. Anyway, that's very cutting edge, and something. Maybe nothing comes from it, but I actually think that this is probably the future for Bitcoin nodes. The other thing I want to show you as well is we have if you're running LNbits on top of a node, we now have a node management tool as well. But for some reason, I couldn't get this working. So I think and it needs to run a reg test environment. Right there. I think it's because I can't work on a channel. Maybe if I need to stop Docker and then start Docker again. Let me try this. Hopefully I can show you this, or if not, I can just talk about it. So we have a reg test environment where if you want, it can create a bunch of like nodes for you and use testnet funds so you can, okay. Right, let's try that. I don't know why that would make a difference, though, to be honest. You can't see. Oh, okay, maybe that's it. Okay, let me run this reg test environment. So we'll see here now. So this is available, by the way, in our LNbits GitHub. If you go to, I'm talking to the developers out there now who want to run a reg test environment, so they can run a node, but or not a mainnet. And then I think it's, what's it called? Oh, yeah, reg test, legend reg test environment. So this is a Docker which you can pull in to your LNbits. So you put it in, /Docker in your root directory, And then when you run it, we'll see here that it's created a Bitcoin on-chain, and it's spun up a bunch of containers for all these different node implementations. And then it's going to sync those nodes, and then it's going to create channels between those different nodes. And it gives us a nice development environment where we can test LNbits, in a nice testing environment. So that's what I'm doing right now. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to connect to one of the core Lightning nodes in the back end, so I can show you in the front end our very cool node management suite, which isn't there because currently I'm not connected to that as a funding source. So now they're running. I should be able to. This is where we have to cross our fingers. Gosh. Go on. Ah, no, it's still not working. It's falling back on Void Wallet. I won't debug it now. It's a bit annoying. But yeah, I think it's a permissions thing. I need to challenge to get permissions or something. I need to figure out. But anyway, there is, if I could show you, a very cool node management UI, which you can use, kind of like RTL, except built into LNbits. And it runs really well. It works for Eclair, LND, and C Lightning. And that was developed by a developer called Jackstar. Oh, the other thing I wanted to show you. So, we was developing extensions in LNbits, wasn't it? So when we develop an extension in LNbits now, what we do is install the extension, which we're going to be working on, or we're going to be changing. So I don't know, let's pick an extension, any extension. SatsDice, let's install SatsDice into our install here. Right, okay, and enable, and right, I'm just going to leave that now. Now what I'm going to do, if I was working on SatsDice, this is how I would work on it, is I would, where am I, CD LNbits, CD extensions, and then I would remove SatsDice. Okay, then I would go back to projects here, and then for SatsDice, I would go to the repo. 1 second. And then I'm going to clone that. So git clone. And the SatsDice into there. Then I would make a link, symbolic link between the SatsDice. Here we go. The SatsDice extension I've just cloned, SatsDice, and extensions. And then when I spin up LNbits again now, hopefully, I should be able to access the clone version of the clone version of SatsDice. Okay, so when I spin that up now, when I go to my local install, refresh, there we go. I've got SatsDice here. I'm going to open it. Okay, and it says new SatsDice. Okay, so now if I don't know, open up Sublime, I can work on this extension and change it, and I'm actually changing the cloned version of SatsDice in my projects file, which means that what did it say? New SatsDice, which means that there we go. Make a little change. There we are. There are SatsDice extension. So this now means that when I'm working on this, I'm working on the cloned version, and then the changes I make, I can push, and I can make a PR to the SatsDice repo, which I've lost. Oh yeah, here it is. So the SatsDice repo here. So all the extensions, they now have their own repos, and they have their own issues, and they have their own PRs. And yeah, big props to like Tal and Pavel and DNI for doing a lot of good work managing these extensions. So this means that if you are an extension developer, you can develop an extension, keep it on your own repo, have pull request commits, blah, blah, blah. Other people can easily work on that extension. And then when you want the world to have access to it, you PR this repo with your new version of your extension. Okay, so I mean, if someone's building an extension, they'll probably have to go over this again and rewind and check it out again. But basically, you can build an extension, and then if you PR it into this file, this is the manifest which an LNbits install automatically has packaged with it. Where are we? Automatically has packaged with it, and that these are all the extensions which are made available in an install, and you can manage it on your own repo. So that's kind of cool. We're going to be bringing in premium extensions as well, so people could actually charge for getting access to an extension or charge for like premium functionality. So something we've been working on the POS is, this is cool, I'll show you this. A new feature in the POS is you can have it as an ATM as well if you want to. So you can sell your funds back to your customers. This could have been a premium feature, so you could just have a simple software point of sale, and whoever develops the extension, they could add this ability to do an ATM as well to send the funds out, and then a user would just have to pay, an LNbits admin would have to pay, 5,000 sats to activate that functionality. So I'm quite excited to see that kind of ecosystem of extensions evolve, of people actually getting paid for building their extensions. I think that's the password. Nope. I think it's 8787 878787. Okay, cool. This won't work because it's using LNURL, so we're going to get an error. Yeah, there we are. But what would happen is when I click OK, it generates an LNURL withdraw, and then you can scan it and then pull the funds out. And again, this is from real world use case, like people accumulating sats, and they should be able to sell them back to their customers at a profit. So that's a cool new feature which we've added to TPOS, and we're working on. What's the other thing? Oh yeah, so if you're running, I'm going to go back to the custodial version of LNbits we were looking at. If you're running LNbits and a cafe is using it or a bar is using it as well, I onboarded my local cafe, and they're accepting payments for TPOS, and then they're using bolts to loop out to an on-chain address. They were just sending it to a Bitcoin exchange, which made me very sad. So I said, well, why not use, our DIY hardware wallet, which is actually like a very cheap $10 hardware wallet, and it's pretty easy to build. We're going to build one now, and I'm going to show you how to use this. This will give our LNbits install on-chain functionality as well. So I'm going to go to on-chain wallet. I'm going to go to open, and here we go. In on-chain wallet, we have a link here we go, to this link here, which I'm going to click on. Again, this is one of these web installers for installing the binary. You can install from source from GitHub if you want to. I'm going to go to Chrome because it's using a protocol called WebSerial, which isn't supported by Firefox, but it's supported by Chrome. And then I'm going to get a wire. I'm going to plug it in. And I'm going to plug it into my little $10 bit of hardware here, which we're going to turn into a hardware wallet. I'm going to click flash. Oh, and then, crikey. And then, crikey, did it twice. Click flash, and then I'll see the device is available. I'm going to connect. And then I'm going to install the hardware wallet, erase device, click next, click install. And that's going to push the binary from the web browser down onto the device to turn this device into a hardware wallet. Of course, it's going to fail. I think it's because let me refresh that. I think it's because I was, I had clicked a couple of times here. Let's see. If not, I'll try on Chrome. Too many demos. Okay, erasing. Right, cross our fingers. So now it's erasing the memory on the hardware, on the microcontroller. This is a very simple microcontroller as well. So it's not like some like signing devices. I'll use like a Raspberry Pi Zero or something which has a whole operating system on. This is just a microcontroller. So it really is just being a hardware wallet and nothing else. There's no operating system. And that's a great project which is being built out by Vlad Stan, one of our contributors. It was a project I got started a few years ago, and then he's turned into something really great. Where's the... Oh, it's here, isn't it? So if I go back here, and this is going to be the UI in which I manage my hardware wallet through, and I can use it on testnet as well, so I can show you having some testnet coins. If you go, actually, if we go over here, let's go check out the repo for this. Right, so this is the repo for the DIY Bitcoin hardware wallet. It's really a wrapper for uBitcoin, and uBitcoin is the library written by Stephan Snodgrass for Spectre, which is also a wrapper for Peter Wooler's library. So it's pretty legit Bitcoin library for the Bitcoin stuff. You can, as I said, you can install it from source, but we're installing it via this UI. There we are. The installation is complete. So now if I unplug it and go back to LNbits, and then when I plug it in again, I think this might be, when I did the workshops recently in Amsterdam, I had one ESP32 which was broken, and I think this might be the one which is broken. So I'm going to quickly grab another one and install the software on that. Actually, I've got one right here. So the POS we have that uses the same microcontroller. So I'm just going to quickly install the software again on there. This will be worth it. Because as I said, the guy who owns my local cafe who's sending his funds to an exchange, and I wanted them to secure them on a hardware wallet. This isn't something which you'd want to store like your life savings on. It's a DIY hardware wallet using an off-the-shelf device. It doesn't have the supply chain attack, which is very cool, and it also has hardware RNG for creating the entropy and creating the Bitcoin wallet. But of course, we would totally recommend using something like a Trezor. This is why we have Trezor support for this extension as well. So you can actually use a Trezor with this extension. All right, so let's try that again. So that's erasing, and then that's going to install the binary onto there. And then we're going to show you the on-chain wallet functionality. While that's installing, I wonder if there's something else I could show you. Oh, yeah. So like what all this, I know what I can show you. Another great project which we have, which is very useful, is called Bitcoin Switch. That's in the LNUR device extension. And if we go to Bitcoin Switch, this is the ability to turn anything on with Bitcoin. And it's a very cheap ESP32 with a relay. And it basically just creates a WebSocket to LNbits. And then when you get a payment into a wallet, it just says, turn this thing on for a period of time. So it turns on a GPIO for a period of time. With this, 3-4 quid's worth of hardware, you could retrofit like an entire vending machine to accept Bitcoin payments. So pretty powerful and exciting stuff. There's a great community on Telegram called MakerBits, which is where we discuss a lot of this hardware stuff. So, if anyone's interested in that, go check it out. There's also a YouTube video, YouTube channel for MakerBits, where, there's a bunch of nice little video tutorials for how to make all of this stuff, the DIY hardware wallet, the DIY point of sale, and some other bits and bobs. Oh yeah, the Bitcoin Switch as well. So check those out. We also have the LNbits YouTube channel as well. And then in the LNbits YouTube channel, they're probably a little bit dated now, but there's a bunch of, we try to make them really small, like 2 to 3 minute videos about the different extensions and their functionality. And then we've also started adding some other stuff here. So here's showing the Bolter card being used with the Android point of sale. Like a bunch of installation videos and breakdowns on the extensions there. How are we doing? Okay, so now we have installed. Okay, great. So now I'm going to unplug it, plug it in again, and then, okay, there we are. Nice, it's working. Right, so now I'm going to go back to LNbits. Actually, this needs to be done through Chrome as well, because we're also using Web Serial to communicate to our hardware wallet. You can actually do an air-gapped version using the point of sale hardware, but we're going to be doing the over-the-wire version, which is the version which my cafe friend has, because it's nice and simple. When you connect it, you have 10 seconds to connect to it. There we go. And then once you do, you get this confirm this PIN code. So data between the device and your computer is encrypted. So this is just showing that, it's unencrypting and decrypting correctly. And then once you've done that, I can go over here, and if I want to, I could restore from seed. So I could get like a bunch of dice and then create, my own entropy and then build my own Bitcoin wallet, which is probably recommended. Or we could wipe it and then build a Bitcoin wallet via the hardware RNG on the device. So I'm going to give it a password, and then all data on the device will then be encrypted by that password. And then there we are, it's created a new Bitcoin wallet, which means I can now go to login. And then log in. And that means we can now pull a XPub from the hardware device. So we can pull, whatever XPub generated addresses from the hardware device. Now I'm going to actually switch this to testnet so I can show you this, because it only takes a couple of minutes to receive a payment and send a payment on testnet. So I'm going to update, and then I'm going to pull in a testnet XPub, SegWit testnet XPub. We've also got Taproot support in there as well. Okay. And just checking, a horrible fear that you guys aren't with me anymore. Are you still with me? Oh yeah, there you are. You're still there. That's cool. Right. Okay. So so we brought in the XPub, and now we can generate new addresses using that testnet XPub, and we can send testnet coins to it. So I'm going to generate an address, and then if I click on that one, it takes me to mempool.space, which won't work because it's a testnet address. If I click on this one, I can copy the address. And then if I go testnet, faucet, Bitcoin, and go to some random testnet faucet, what this one? Here we go. And then I pop in my Bitcoin address, send testnet Bitcoins, please. Okay, they've very kindly sent me some testnet Bitcoins. And then I'm going to send them back when I receive them. So I'm going to copy this address here. And then they're mined every minute, I think, or is it every 30 seconds or every minute or something? So after a second, if I refresh, we should have the funds pop in. Actually, sorry, not refresh. If I click scan blockchain, there we go. I got my 1,000 sats. Cool. So this dude sent me 1,000 sats via testnet, which means I can now send those funds back and create a payment. So I'm going to click on new payment, and then I'm going to copy his address in. I just copied, and I'm going to send him 700 sats. I think, okay, so the dust limit leftovers will then also be used as a fee. What I love about this UI is it's really simple. Like I could just go here and then just click check and send, and it will send the Bitcoins. Or it could be more complicated. So I could do a batch transaction by just, adding a bunch of addresses here and a bunch of amounts. I can do custom fees, so I could change the fee if I want to. The fees calculated from mempool.space, the Bitcoin fee is. I can do coin selections, so I can just do random for selecting UTXOs, or I can actually just select the UTXOs I want to use. And I can also change the change address. Again, all this can be done programmatically through the API as well. So yeah, that's good. All good. I'm going to click check and send. Please connect signing device first. All right, yeah, I refreshed. That's a shame, isn't it? So by refreshing, I just disconnected the connection. But then that's kind of cool because it shows that so now I should be able to log in. It shows that obviously we can use those XPubs offline, so our device doesn't need to be connected. Right, so now I'm logged in, back logged into my device. I can click check and send. And then that will create a PSBT in LNbits, and then it sends it over the wire to my hardware device. I'm like, yes, okay, cool. Send 700 sats. Okay, this is the fee. Confirm. And then I have to then confirm on the hardware device by pressing this little button. And when I do that, it signs the PSBT, sends it back down the wire, and now I can send those coins. And there we are. So I've just received and sent some Bitcoin using this DIY hardware wallet. We have a funky little 3D printed case, which you can use to make this obviously look a little bit more legit. But this is cheap enough for me to give, to the guy, and never use a hardware wallet someone gives you, of course. But my local cafe guy, he trusts me, he knows who I am. I give him this little hardware wallet. I say, look, at least have your funds go on here rather than going to the exchange. And actually, he can flash the software himself, and then he knows I haven't tampered with it. But pretty cool. It's just showing, again, like some of the cool stuff which kind of gets built off LNbits, the projects which get built off LNbits, such as, all the hardware projects which get built off LNbits. Things you can do with the hardware stuff. This is always a good example. Bitcoin. So when I first made the Bitcoin switch, I think, I demoed it on Twitter, on a YouTube Bitcoin panel show, which we do, weekly. It's like a weekly digest thing on Bitcoin. And then, come on. I think my laptop's given up the ghost because I've got too many windows open. Let me go close some stuff. I'll close this. Oh, close this. There's a problem with using an old laptop. I'll close this. Come on. Should free up a little bit of memory. Right. And in this video, what we see, okay, is I've got 3 QR codes. I've got a slap machine, smoke machine, and slaps back. So if someone pays this QR code, I made them a little machine which will slap me, and then if someone pays this one, someone will blow smoke in my face. And then when the money accumulates, they can pull the funds out of the screen. It's goofy, but it's an example of impacting. There we go. It's an example of like having something happen in the real world, like someone paying a transaction. It blows my mind still, paying a transaction through the video stream, and then having something react in the real world. And I think there's a bunch of implications for content creators and cam services and all sorts of interesting things. There's another extension I want to show you on that note. In fact, if I go to, I'm on the demo server here. Yes, I am on the demo server. I'll close this. I need to close some stuff because my laptop doesn't sound happy. And then if I enable Streamer Copilot, and open that up, then what should I call it? I don't even know what to call it. Then I can create. I'll show you. This is a great little extension. So let's go BTC USD. Tip QR code. So we can put a tip QR code on a video stream, and then stuff happen, like trigger GIFs and stuff. Requires HTTPS. Yeah, we're doing this. What's this? Messages. Oh, we're not going to have the messages thing. Okay, so the money's going to go to this wallet. Currently, we've only got a selection of animations you can pick from, but we are going to add the ability for you to add your own custom animations to this. I'm going to say if you do 10 sats, you get confetti will be triggered onto the screen. If you do, I don't know, 20 sets, you get a rocket. And then if we do 50 sats, you get Rick. And we can also add webhooks to this as well, so we can turn other stuff on. It's kind of a useful thing. And we'll call this, what's it? Please tip. Great Copilot. And then if I click on this little thing here, it creates this little remote control. And then if I click on this guy, I don't know if it'll work because I'm using the camera with the video stream now. So I'm not sure this will work because my camera is being captured by the video stream, obviously, which we're doing right now. But basically what you should see now is a video of me. And then you've got these different elements here. So you've got the Bitcoin price here, and we've got this tip QR code here. And then if I pay that QR code, we should see. So if I just pay the 10 sats, there we go. We get some confetti, and that just happens like instantly because it's using wonderful, lovely, beautiful WebSockets. And then if I pay more than 50 sats, let's go 60 sats. There we go. We get a little Rick dancing there. And we will add some custom GIFs as well. We also have a troll box, which I added recently. So we can create an ID for this. I don't know, Ben's stream. Oh. Might be one too many demos. Oh, Oh, there we are. My I think it's my memory. My Chrome crashed. But yeah, basically you can have a troll box as well, so you can get messages up, and then your users can chat and they can have their messages come up on there. No, so it's just like a really exciting selection of. The other thing I wanted to show you was the Nostar stuff. So obviously everyone's running. Are we running out of time?
Yeah, but we can do a couple more minutes. You can show this one.
Oh, okay. Man, my Chrome died, which means where are we? Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the streaming sometimes the screen sharing.
Yeah. The thing I wanted to show you, which I think I've closed like a dumbass. Oh no, it's here. Sorry. No, it's not. It is. Okay, so the thing I wanted to show you in the SaaS is because there's some extensions which only admins can get access to. One of them is the Nostar Relay extension, which is really cool, and I just want to quickly show you that. And also Nostar Market, so I need to show you that. So with the Nostar Relay extension, you can one-click spin up a Nostar Relay, and then you can charge people for using that relay, and you can charge for storage. So if I enable the Nostar Relay extension and then open it, then I can go to new relay. I can give it an ID, name, Ben's relay, description, blah, 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 create relay. And then when I click on this little jobby here, I can activate the relay. Now this is a Nostar relay which people can use, right? But however, if I click on payment here, I can like charge for storage. I can click on paid plan and I can say, well, this is where the funds are going to go, right? And I can say, well, it'll cost, 2,000 sats to join my relay. If you want to give your public key, my relay, if you want my relay to forward notes from your public key, then you'll need to pay me 2,000 sats to join. And then we have some configuration stuff, some heady Nostar configuration stuff, which is good. Accounts, we have an allow ban list, so you can also programmatically just and through the UI allow certain public keys or block certain public keys. So you could have a relay just for friends or families. That's kind of an interesting idea, or subject-specific relays. So this is a really powerful little Nostar extension. The other extension, which I wanted to show you very, very quickly, but I won't go with a full demo, I'll just talk about, is Nostar Market. So one of the...
Actually, feel free to go deep
so
into that
Nostar
one.
itself, partly came out of an LNbits extension. We had an extension called Diagon Alley, which was an idea for decentralized markets. And some of the concepts in Diagon Alley were the things which then influenced the creation of Nostar, because obviously Fiat was working on LNbits as well at the time. So we were like, okay, cool. So now we build the marketplace on LNbits, which is Nostar Market. Again, this is mostly Vlad, Stan, Tal have done this. I chipped in a little bit. So with this, you can, it's quite important. So if you're running Nostar Market, it uses another extension called Nostar Client, because if you're running a marketplace, obviously you want to generate invoices for people to pay, but you don't want your client to be on all the time. So we have something called Nostar Client, which is an extension which acts like an always-on client and can route traffic to any LNbits extension. So it can receive notes and then route it to any LNbits extension. So it Nostifies the whole of LNbits. It's pretty cool. So if we click open here, then if I click on add relay, I think there's some relays I can just add here. Add relay. Add well order. Come on. Okay, so I can start adding a couple of relays, and they'll connect to these relays. It's actually kind of cool as a multiplexer. So you could connect to 20 relays, and that turns into one relay, which you could connect your client to if you want to. Anyway, so notes will come through these relays, and then it will get redirected to, say, our marketplace extension. So if we go to our marketplace extension, and I'm going to generate new keys because we haven't got any keys to import. Let me close some stuff here. Oh, didn't like that, did it? Oh, right, merchant already exists for this user. Okay, so I think I've just clicked on it too many times. And then you can create a merchant, and then you can create products as a note, sign them, send them to the relay, and then a marketplace client can pull it down. And I'll show you what the new marketplace client we have running looks like, because it looks pretty good. I hope this is the one which doesn't have illicit goods on it. No, it's not as good. So it can pull all these different products from these different merchants into one marketplace client where somebody can search and pay for products, right? So this solves the censorship resistant marketplace issue. Where are we? Okay, cool. So as a merchant now, I can make the merchant active, and then I can create new shipping zones. I can add a new store, and then I can add products to the store. So the idea is that it's a market stall. So it's like a table which you put all your products on. You sign them, and then you send them. And then another client, this is just literally a front end client, okay, which we're running at market.noster.com, right? This can then populate this client you give it public keys, and it can then populate the client with the products from the merchant. Then you can go in and you can just use it like a regular normal web store, and then pay for your products. So it's really nice. I think the Johns, you're probably going to appreciate the UI here. It's pretty nice UI here for our Noster marketplace we've got running.
Yeah, and all these things are available as well from the API as well. So if you wanted to create a new UI on top of it, you would be able to, right?
Well, I mean, so the cool thing about this client is it's just front end. So it has no API. Mm-hmm. It's just a dumb front end. So you could go in, you could just clone, you could go to, I think it's like Noster Market on our LNbits repos. If you go to Noster Market, you clone this, fiddle it around, change it if you want to, but all the all the JavaScript's there to connect to the relay, and then pull products down.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so that's completely front end, which means that you can run this locally, and it doesn't matter what products are being.
So the LNbits extension is more for like managing your products and doing the communication.
And then also making payments. So when someone can make a payment as well, and then also communicating with your customers as well, because it sounds like a DM zone and stuff. It's very powerful.
So the app, so the client itself, it's a Noster client. You could write it in whatever you want.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Very nice.
If I click on here, I think it does. You can also run. Here we go. This is probably the old. Oh, this is the new version. You can also, if you click on Market Client here, there is also a version packaged in with the extension, which will then just run, on your LNbits install. But it is also a standalone, front end. You can just run anywhere. You can even just run locally, which is quite a cool concept. Like you just, run the software locally and then just pull in whatever products merchants you want to look at their products. And then merchant lists can exist. So you could have a repo of merchant lists, different merchant public keys. And it could be like vetted extensions, like people could PR in. So you could have a collection of merchants for, I don't know, cakes. And then you could create like a cake stall type thing with all these different merchants selling all different cakes. I don't know, whatever.
But you can make a marketplace for relays as well.
Yeah, no, not a bad idea. But yeah, it's all about like the whole ethos of LNbits and what makes it, I think, a fun project. It's just about like getting the tools, making the tools really accessible to people when they want to build stuff, they want to make stuff, they want to make use of Lightning and Bitcoin and Noster. And it's like getting rid of all that heavy lifting. So, rather than you having to go and install some weird relay and it takes loads of time, or the other thing as well, like if you include LNbits in your stack, it means that every single time we get a new extension, you can then offer that as a product. So like, I don't know, Vida, for example, if they're using LNbits in their back end for their users and for doing Lightning payments, when we have this Noster relay extension, it's like, oh, now on Vida, they could just say, hey, if you want to spin up a relay, you can spin up one with us. It'll only cost you X amount of sats. And they can just plug into the extension through the API. And it's just all there. Like, so every time an extension gets added, it's functionality being added, potential functionality being added to all these different projects, which are then using LNbits.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a huge market that you potentially have as well. Maybe as a plugin developer.
And it's a way, also as a way of like promoting your product. So say we've got like, some fiat off ramps. People are developing extensions for those. Some of these Swiss companies where you don't need to KYC and you can, sell £1,000 worth of Bitcoin, have it go into your bank account. Well, they can create that extension, and then we vet it, and then we make it available in LNbits, and it's just a nice way of getting their projects out there. Like my cafe owner, he might know or not, might not know about that service, but now they will, because it'll pop up in their LNbits install and be like, oh, this sounds perfect, fiat on and off ramps. They'll enable it, and then they can get fiat on and off ramps. So it's a really nice way to market projects too, as well, I think.
Yvette, hopefully I said it correct, says when you were talking about the clothing the client and stuff, you can just add merchants to the shop that you'd like to follow, so you generate your own market. Yeah,
exactly.
That's a cool concept there.
Everyone's market, when you run the Nostr marketplace client, everyone's market can be tailored to whatever they want to buy. So us at nostr.com, we're going to probably maintain a list of not legit, but vanilla merchants selling ClearNet products.
Let's keep it like that.
So you can have your eBay experience, but then of course there will be other lists of merchants selling other products. Yeah.
Okay.
It's basically making software for gangsters, aren't we? Let's be honest.
I saw that post from you yesterday, so I'm like, okay, don't want to get banned off YouTube now.
No, so it was an interesting point though, that like it's even less so about censorship resistance. It's more bankless e-commerce. So if you look at Amazon, it only has 300 million users, and Facebook's got 3 billion. And really, like, it's access to bank accounts. Like, if you have a bankless e-commerce platform like Nostr Market, anyone can engage with it. And like, when we have like geolocation,
big anyone. Let's keep it big anyone.
Big anyone. When we have a geolocation as well, like it can become like the Facebook Marketplace. And there's a bunch of clients like Amethyst, and they've been talking for a while about pulling in the Nostr Market NIP into their social clients, because there's something powerful about marrying a social graph with e-commerce.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, so sorry for us sort of here, there, and everywhere in the demo, but it's a lot to cover, and it's trying to get to it all. There's hardware, there's software, there's this, there's that. It's all cutting edge stuff.
When SDK?
We've got one, I think.
Yeah, I know DNI is working on it. I know DNI is working on it.
Yeah, it's somewhere right now. It's in. I'm pretty sure it's in. I mean, yeah, you use the Swagger and build the API requests, but I'm pretty sure those are
still
SDK things.
Still in development. Yeah. I touch base with them every now and then, just for context. There's a SDK that I'm really excited about being able to use. That's in development, which will allow you to kind of like be able to access the LNbits APIs for all the extensions and the core part of LNbits. But you could just easily import it in Python or npm install, and then you're able to like interact with it in your code, instead of having to do some of the boilerplate of fetch HTTP requests and stuff like that. So that's just the context there. Ben,
it will happen, I promise, Johns. I'm sorry, it hasn't happened sooner. We'll get to that SDK. It takes
a bit.
DNI's been like on fire, man, because he's determined to get this thing out of beta, and the last thing we need to implement is the login system. So currently, like, it's goofy, but everyone just kind of gets used to it, is you have a URL and like don't let people see the URL, right? But DNI's got a PR for a login system where you have like, instead of that, you have like an email password, and that's how you log into your wallet. And that's like really the last thing. And now we're developing to Nix, and we have that, and we've pulled out all the extensions. We can get LNbits vetted, audited, whatever that's worth. We can come out of beta, which is an amazing achievement to have software come out of beta.
That would be amazing.
Really excited.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's why you haven't got your SDK yet.
No. I'm only kidding. But lots of exciting stuff ahead. you've just witnessed a whole breadth of tools, from being able to use LNbits for hardware, for markets, for creating your own relay business, doing on-chain things. There's so many cool extensions and tools and capabilities that you can leverage LNbits for to fast track the development of whatever project that you're working on in the hackathon. Ben, amazing. Thank you so much again. And
thank you. Thanks for having me. Sorry for the technical hiccups at the beginning.
No worries.
As you can see, I'm having laptop issues.
We're all good. We're all good. Take care. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, we need to get the promo video, and then that's what we end it.